Yeah, we did that last year.
Yeah, we went at the first meeting, I got there at like 4:10, running in.
How are you, Tracy?
Good, thanks, how are you?
Good, did you get ours at like 5:45?
I
didn't even need to leave.
Oh, yeah, we're, I don't know how many times it's been literally like 7:30.
Before they get over.
Yeah, he's running, he's my son was on one of the first and one of the end. Good.
Ready to go?
Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the Warren County Board of Supervisors meeting. Today's date is Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. It's 9:30 a.m. We are in the administration boardroom. Please join me, stand for the national anthem. Or for the Pledge of Allegiance, sorry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For a second there, I thought we were going to have Supervisor McIntyre sing the national anthem for us. Okay, again, welcome. The first item on our agenda is the consent agenda.
I would move the consent agenda as presented.
Oh, I'm not there, sorry.
Second. So we have a motion and we have a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
I don't have it in front of me, so I can't, I'm going to abstain.
Snell?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. The consent agenda is approved. The second item on our agenda is a public hearing for rezoning application for land from A1 Agricultural District to C2 General Commercial Highway Service District as submitted by Brandon Jaden.
I'll make a motion to go into public hearing.
I'll second that. Okay, yes, I'll second that. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye. We're now in public hearing.
Morning. Brandon Chaden of 5465 88th Avenue of Norwalk, Iowa is asking to rezone a tract of land from A1 to C2 for an auto repair shop. Brandon has an auto repair shop that he's had at this location for the last couple of years. The county was made aware of this when he went to pull a building permit. He wants to expand his current building and build an addition on his current building of 60 by 100. This would allow him to keep more inventory and parts and just to kind of clean the keep the property clean. There was one member that was present, that was present at the time, Gail Blackford. He just asked for some clarification of the rezoning request. I did drive by the property and looked at it before the zoning commission meeting, and he does keep a nice piece of property. You can see where the new addition is going to be. He's kind of did some dirt work. So our recommendation was approval, and the motion was made by Westrom to recommend approval for the rezoning application to the Board of Supervisors with a sunset to revert back to A1. That was seconded by Rooney, and all members present, Ominous aye, Oliver aye, Westrom aye, Rooney and Kane all voted in favor of the rezoning application.
Any discussion or questions for Miranda on this topic?
Yeah, I have one. And it kind of goes back to the issue that we've been dealing with before, and that is where we're dealing with sunset clauses and things, and our ability to actually track those. Has anything changed in the last 6 months?
No. And working on our new land use zoning ordinance, I feel, and I don't want to misspeak, but I feel items like this can possibly be handled under a special use or conditional use. So then they could set conditions on it and it might be easier to track. We also have had some discussion that we could possibly put it on our map. So then that would bring it up, and just like our plots of survey, we can bring those up and the general public can see those. So maybe that's a layer also. But at this time, until we see the property go through, sometimes we miss that.
I'll tell you where I'm coming from, because we've gone through this whole discussion now on a couple of different situations. I am not inclined to include the sunset, just because our ability to actually track it, it also creates situations later down the road for a future Board of Supervisors or a zoning commission or somebody else to deal with. And unfortunately, the poor property owner tries to sell the property, and they think they've done everything right, and the person that buys it thinks they've done everything right, and next thing you know, that's the person
Correct.
that really has a problem. So I'm just kind of talking here in
Yeah,
general.
no, I appreciate that. And
I mean, after
we've
what
had
I've seen
that.
us go through here and the discussion we've had over the last 6 months with other situations, I don't know how this is any different than those other ones that we've dealt with.
Correct.
So I'm just letting my board members know where I'm standing here on this deal.
Yeah, we totally get it. We've been knocking around sunset clauses for the 2 years that I've been here, and we're kind of on the fence, and I'm hoping that our new land use planning ordinances will address this, and we can develop a policy that makes sense in all instances. The concern we've always had is that once we make something commercial, I guess it's commercial forever, and commercial can mean a lot of different things. I mean, in this particular case, we've got a professional businessman, a professional business doing valued work, and has a great care of the takes great care of the property, and does everything on the up and up. But when that business sells or transfers to another commercial owner, what does that become? And does that create a problem down the road? So, commercial can mean a lot of different things. Doesn't mean industrial, but it's kind of it's something that, knowing what we know about this particular rezoning application and how positive it is, and doesn't necessarily mean that, the next commercial business coming along. So that's always been kind of the hang-up, and I totally understand Supervisor Snell's position, and it is really, really tough to track, and I'm not so sure that we catch these things when businesses transfer over. Like, I don't know that there's been a case where, hey, wait a second, there's a sunset clause here, so when that changes over, we're going to go back to residential, or we're going to go back to agricultural. I don't know that that's happened since I've been here in the last 2 years.
And some of it, the new property owners, they're kind of, or proposed property owners, doing their due diligence. They're looking on the county map, and they might not know to call us and say, hey, is there a sunset clause on this piece of property? I mean, they're trying to do their due diligence ahead of time and see what properties are already zoned commercial.
Right.
Which I appreciate that, but they don't know maybe the rest of the story, with the sunset.
I think the fact that the zoning commission was favorable to the rezoning in the first place says a whole lot right
Yes.
there. And so that's where I'm saying I'm going to go that direction and follow their lead and suggestion in that regard. The other thing is, these are rural areas. It's not like you're just right on top of each other in a city neighborhood situation where you're 10 feet away from your neighbor, It's not that type of environment, so.
Right. Any other discussion on this?
Do we have more folks?
Is there anybody from the public, or?
The owner is here if you would like to ask any questions. He is here today.
Where is he?
I don't have any questions, but if the
Don't
rest of
either,
the board
know.
does. If
Why
want to just
don't you introduce yourself,
Yeah.
and at least that way we can know who you are, and
I'm Brandon Chaden of 5465 88th Avenue. I own BST Classic Rods and Customs on the property, the bigger building that you can see there. And yeah, I mean, I've been there for 2 years. Didn't know I wasn't in compliance, or else 2 years ago we would have had this conversation. But I mean, the sunset provision doesn't affect me at all. I'll die on that property and then my kids will take it over. And my
Then they'll
family,
have to deal with the sunset.
well, my family's been there for half a century. We've run commercial businesses off that property for half a century. You know, just look forward to continuing what my grandpa started out there.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else from the public? Any other comments? Question or comments from the board, discussion?
I would move to close the public hearing.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Okay, we're back in a regular meeting. I'll make a motion to approve the application for land from A1 Agricultural District to C2 General Commercial Highway Service District as submitted by Brandon Jaden, and I'll waive the second and third reading.
Are you also going to waive the sunset clause?
So there's nothing in my motion relative to a sunset clause.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that, because I don't think a sunset clause is necessary.
Okay.
So I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next item on our agenda is a public hearing for rezoning application for land from A1 Agricultural District to RR1 Rural Residential District as submitted by Morris and Kathy Reynolds. I'll make a motion, go into public hearing.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
We're now in public hearing.
Morris and Kathy Reynolds of 5393 R63 Highway are asking to rezone approximately 12.89 acres of ground from A1 to RR1 for a proposed subdivision. The Reynolds are asking to split ground up among family members and for future residents. They would like to keep as much of the ground agricultural. So I provided you a map. There's currently homes on lots 3, 4, and 5. The only lots that would be buildable would be lots 1 and 2, which is kind of to the north part of that. So the Reynolds are trying to conform with the Warren County subdivision ordinance over the years. That's all been kind of split up by plots of survey. So doing this would conform with our new subdivision. We did receive comments from Jonathan Kizenbaugh, John and Karen Reynolds, Meredith and Tyler Supcoke, Blake Reynolds, and Joe and Debbie Reynolds, and I've included all of those in your packets for you to review. At the night of the meeting, we did have members that spoke against the rezoning application. That was Joe Reynolds, Blake Reynolds, and Meredith Sukup. Members that spoke in favor were Don Papkin, Morris Reynolds, and Scott Moore. Staff recommendation for this was approval. The Reynolds would like to preserve as much of the ground as ag. The proposed layout of the lots will help do that, splitting it into 5 lots for future residential growth. This currently meets our subdivision ordinance regulations. It is on a paved road. The motion is coming to you as a denial. Rooney recommended a denial of this rezoning. I'm in a second, and all members voted to deny this.
Did they give their reasoning for denial?
To be honest, at the night of the meeting, the family members do not necessarily get along with what had happened. I hate to, speak that way, and I feel maybe the zoning commission kind of got hung up on that and did not look at what was in front of them as a rezoning application.
So what is the staff recommendation?
Our recommendation was approval.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the zoning commission went against that.
Did you say that, I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, because that's not our job necessarily. But when you talked about a couple of the lots, did you say that a couple of them are not buildable?
Only 2 of them will be built upon. That will be lots 1 and 2 in your map that I gave you, because there's currently homes on the rest of them. There's currently homes,
Oh, I see. I misunderstood what you said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
I
currently-
understand.
yeah,
Okay.
there's current homes
Never
already
mind.
built.
I misunderstood what you said.
no.
Okay.
Okay. Would Morris and Kathy, or Morris or Kathy Reynolds want to
They
speak
are
on this?
here, but I believe Aaron is going to speak on their behalf from
Okay.
Schneider.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Aaron Griffin, I'm with Snyder and Associates out of Ankeny, Iowa.
Okay.
I'm just going to tack on to a little bit of what Miranda said. Over the years, in the early 80s and the early 90s, there's multiple plat of surveys in this area that split up the land. What we're trying to do is subdivide, and we're creating 3 new lots along R63. They're current housing that's already within them lots, and then we'll be creating 2 new lots just to the north of the lots that we'll be creating around the existing houses. I believe we're adhering to the Warren County subdivision regulations, and we're also adhering to what the planning has recommended to us. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to
Could you
answer.
restate your name and?
Aaron
and your-
Griffin.
And your relationship here to the folks?
I'm working for them. I'm with Snyder and Associates, civil engineering firm.
Thank you.
Right.
Yep.
Did you present to the zoning commission on
I
this?
did, yes, I did.
Okay. Did you get any feedback on if they had any technical issues or plot issues or any, excuse me? I mean, did you get any feedback relative to zoning issues or?
No, it was pretty much what Miranda had to say.
Okay. All right, good.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Discussion from the board?
There's a gentleman.
Oh, hi, sir. Name, please?
Joe Reynolds,
Okay.
family member here. It's caused all kinds of havoc here. Hasn't been openly discussed. So there's quite a few issues here. There's already 5 houses on this 40-acre parcel or quarter, whatever, and it's just a cluster where they're trying to put that, and that's basically what the zoning board said to them, that it's just, they didn't want to they weren't prepared, and I could see why this new land use is up for debate, and this could be your poster headline for unorganized, no communication. It's been in our family since 1952, and now we're full. It makes no sense to do this, whether it's on a paved road or not. We just don't get it. And my family's been the one that's been left out in the dark. No communication from this side for some reason. I don't know why they wouldn't reach out. They didn't tell us that there were surveyors coming, and they were down on my kids' property. My kids have 2 houses out there. I had to go out and ask them what they were doing. I got no response from the family members after that. I called them, nothing. And then we get a rezoning letter in the mail, rezoning application. A slap in the face. And it's just, I asked zoning, could you deny this to allow this family to kind of repair itself? Got to be a lot of forgiveness coming on here to redo this. I'm capable of doing that. And I'm asking you the same thing, just deny it. It's not right, and allow us some time to kind of figure this out. There's already 5 houses there. It makes no sense, and it's just nothing but selfishness and greed. For those 1 and 2 lots, no, please, just deny it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you, sir?
Yes.
But when you say you want to work it out, what does that mean? How would you work this out?
This present unorganized situation, we'll oppose anybody that wants to come in here and rezone that. Doesn't matter who. I mean, because it's just not right. It's a small 40-acre family parcel since 1952. This isn't what our parents intended on whatsoever. It's just made to stay in a family, and it's being purchased from corporate money, and, you know, it's just wrong.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could you address a question that I have, or I don't know if the family wants to or not? Okay.
Family, I can do it. So,
Okay.
I'm Dawn Papkin.
Yeah.
I'm a granddaughter. This is my mother. She's his sister. And Morris and Kathy Reynolds are my aunt and uncle, her other brother. And Morris and Kathy came to me. I live on the back side of the property. I'm the only person that's been involved in the horses that we keep out there in the last, however many years, 10 plus years. And my Uncle Morris said that they need to downsize because of his age, and they would like to sell off a few acres in the horse barn to me. My eventual goal, I have 2 kids. I would like to make space for my kids to eventually have homes, just as my uncle took his land and built 2 homes with his kids. So we have no intentions of selling those lots. I'm going to use those lots continually, just like I have been, and the horse barn. We've tried to be as kind and honest about it as possible, but sometimes when you just can't, not everybody gets exactly what they want. Again, I guess the last thing I want to say is my Uncle Morris came to me. I didn't come to him, and he said, I'm either going to sell the entire piece because Kathy and I can't handle it anymore, or if you would like to help us downsize and pay off our debt, we want to spend half of our year in Florida, and then the remaining part we'd love to grow old, and that's my great-grandpa's house that they currently live in. So it is still staying retained in family. Bill and I are buying it in a business, just because all the properties that I have, including the other barns, I keep in another, we just keep things in business, that way the horses don't cause us problems. There's no intentions to change. In fact, this was my goal. I was very upset when my uncle said he was going to completely sell out, being Morris. Not that he doesn't have the right to sell, but just disappointed because we all live there and I didn't want to see it go to somebody else. So that's the goal. There's no malice. There's no, that's it.
Right,
Do you have any
okay.
questions?
Well, I just want to give you the perspective of the county. I know it's staying in the family and so forth, but we have to look at it from the perspective of when it does go on the market eventually, if persons die or, whatever happens to the land. And so we have to look at it from the perspective of it is a subdivision and it's meeting all of the criteria. And so I applaud your family for at least hiring a engineering consultant, because it makes it much easier to go through family issues like this and comply with all of the ordinances that we are proposing in the future as well. So thank you very much.
When I purchased the property from my mother, it wasn't in compliance. So, and we've learned that through the process. So our effort was to be as full disclosure as possible in moving forward. And, his children were allowed to take rural land and move it to residential and have their 5-acre plots. And it's just kind of how it moved forward. And we don't really see where that difference lies from a family perspective. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. All my questions are answered.
Anybody else from the public?
I would move we close the public hearing.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snow.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. We're now back in our regular session. Discuss.
I would make a motion that we approve the rezoning application for land from A1 to RR1 as submitted by Morris and Kathy Reynolds.
And do we need to waive the second and third reading?
And I would waive the second and third reading.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snow.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much for everybody's time in this matter. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing for temporary land use regulation as submitted by the Warren County Zoning Office. Hello, Lindsay.
How are ya? Okay.
We're
Got
good.
Sarah Runkle with us here from MSA as well.
Hi.
Hello, good to see you again.
So the Zoning Commission held a public hearing on April 10th, 2023 in regards to a proposed temporary land use regulation, which would be limiting development in the unincorporated areas of Warren County for no more than 3 months. Sarah from MSA discussed some of the issues with the current ordinance with the Zoning Commission. She provided examples of splits and subdivisions and how the current ordinance is not definite. Provided the commission with 3 options. 1 would be to take no action. 2 would be a full moratorium on development throughout the land use planning process. And 3 would be to combine revision tools to allow people to develop their land during the land use planning process. It was MSA's recommendation to go with the option 3 and start with a temporary land use regulation not to exceed a period of 3 months. During that time, MSA would be completing the revisions and overlay options that the county determines would suit their needs. One of the questions that was asked by the Zoning Commission Chair, Hugh Kane, was to define what the pause would look like. She stated that the pause would be on subdivision of land, splits of more than 1 parcel, and rezoning of land. So the Zoning Commission made a motion by Kane to recommend to the Board of Supervisors to have a 4-month temporary land use regulation that would pause any rezoning, subdivision of land, or splits of more than 1 parcel. That was seconded by Sean Westrom, and that was a 5-0 vote to recommend that to you as well. We have had work sessions with you as the Board of Supervisors since about December and kind of discussed, we've had Sarah and Chris from MSA here to discuss. When the Zoning Commission recommended 4 months, Sarah and Chris definitely thought it's something that could probably be done in 3 months. They have a lot of the behind-the-scenes work already ready to present to start having work sessions with the Zoning Commission. I know we had a work session last week, and I know that you as the Board of Supervisors discussed maybe a period of not more than 90 days instead of the 4 months. I know that we talked about instead of just effective today, so there's time to get like a press release out and get some information. I know it was discussed maybe as an effective date of May 15th. And so not more than 90 days, so that'd be August 15th. And then also, I know we discussed that the subdivision of property shall mean splits, parcel divisions, or subdivisions. But this shall exclude subdivision of property proposed to be zoned commercial or industrial, or that's currently zoned commercial or industrial. I know that was a concern that you as a board had, was stopping commercial and industrial during that time. And then, so that's, Sarah's here, so that's kind of where we're at. We do have a resolution ready if you think you want to move forward with the 90 days.
Okay.
I will tell you that May 1st would have been our deadline for our June Zoning Commission meeting, so anything we received, that's not going to be held up. We have notes for other things that, as we've been working through things, so things that are in process would still continue. So really the only 2 months that would really be affected would maybe be July and August, but there's a chance if we get in and get the work sessions started with the Zoning Commission, there's a chance that it might be done before August. Isn't that
Great.
our understanding? Yeah.
Okay.
So it might not be as detrimental as people may think. It's really to wrap our, get our hands wrapped around the definitions in our ordinance and in the different sections, like you start at chapter 40 and it may define something
Contradicts.
here, and then it contradicts in this one, and then it contradicts the last two, and so it's really just kind of cleaning that up, and I'll let Sarah kind of address that.
Okay. I have a question, like if someone wants to build a single-family home, is that also part of this moratorium? No.
No,
Okay,
just the subdivision of land.
Just
So if
subdivision,
someone wants to
okay.
go through a building permit, those would be issued. The actual,
Oh, sorry.
okay. I just want to make this very clear to everybody because I'm getting complaints already, so, yeah.
yes, development would not be halted, it would be the subdivision of land.
Okay, thank you very much.
Also, this only impacts the non-incorporated areas, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So city ordinances would continue to be in place. So like Norwalk or Indian or Carlisle, as an example, those would continue to move forward.
Correct.
Do you want Sarah to do a little part of her presentation
I don't-
for you, or?
For me, I don't, that's not necessary for me, but by all means, if the other board members want to hear more details, we have literally discussed every aspect of this for the last 3 months, so I have no issues, but here again.
In fact, I'm ready to move forward here.
Yep.
Are we in a public hearing right now?
Yes,
I think Chad Daniels might be here to speak.
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Okay.
I can't recall, are we formally in public hearing right now?
Yes,
Or are we just in presentation?
public hearing.
Well,
Okay, so Chad, if you want to come forward and state your name and address and let us know what's on your mind.
My name is Chad Daniels. I'm a licensed land surveyor, and I live in New Virginia, just outside of New Virginia. I'm in favor of all the redoing of the zoning rules. I think, I'm just a one-guy operation, but I've created 44 new lots in Warren County since January 1st.
Oh, my goodness.
Myself. That doesn't count anybody else. So of those 44, 9 met the Code of Iowa, Section 354.6, which Madison County uses, Polk County uses as their splits. Marion County and Clark County allow 2 splits in a 40 before a subdivision can take place. Madison and Polk is 1. So, like I said, I've done 44 in Warren County, 9 would have been allowed in Madison, and 18 would have been allowed in Marion and Clark. Without, there's just, we've been very lax in this county, and you can see it driving around on the gravel roads.
Yes.
Yep,
But I am in favor of them slowing some stuff down and doing whatever that takes to do this. But I guess as far as my business goes, she gave me a heads up. So last week I did 13 to get in front of your.
Is that included in the 44, or
Yeah,
did you?
that's
okay.
included in the 44. And I had 2 more calls this weekend where I could do 8 more. So, I mean, you got to stop it now, or,
Oh,
but I would ask that you would at least allow the dad to give 5 acres to the son. Allow the 1 split in the 40 during this time. No more than 1. Because I don't know what you're going to switch to. I mean, I'm on the steering committee, or I'm helping with that, but stopping it totally during the summer hours when that kind of stuff, the kid's going to look at building the houses. I would have liked to have seen this in November through January,
us too.
but
Get that.
this is the time when the kids say, hey, I want 5 acres from grandma to build a house. So, but if there's already a split in that 40, then just don't allow it. I mean, that's, from my perspective, I know you guys are going to do what you want to do, but I think you're going to get a lot of heat from not allowing anything to go on. But if you can take the heat, then go right ahead. But that's, but I'd like to see it more uniform, just for myself too, and all the other surveyors and engineers. We're all highly aware of this, the code section 354.6 that says how many splits can be before it requires a subdivision. And it's right in the code, and every other county follows that. So it would be nice if we did too.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think your opinion really carries a lot of weight, at least for me.
And all these Reynolds splits, I did those. I mean, I've done a lot, so. Over 1,000 in the county, so.
So my question to you, Chad, as a surveyor, so you submitted 9 last week, which we knew. So 2 more weeks of that.
Yeah.
So, and we've given warning to people when we've said this, there was gonna be a meeting today. I'm really surprised the room is not full.
Right.
Because people said, well, we've had realtors contact us, we have had survey, and they're like,
Wow.
And so I'm really surprised the room, that the Chad is the only one here to discuss it, because, and he's in favor of it. But my concern, and that was our concern, that if this wouldn't get passed to redo some of this, we would be looking at what Chad has done in the last week over the course of another year. So, it has to get under control. There's just so many loopholes in that ordinance, the way it's written. I don't know if it's even something, I know you've wanted to give a warning, but is 2 weeks even
Enough time.
much? Or
Too much.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? Do you want it to be effective next Monday? Or, because we can get stuff rolled out in the papers for a press release, that's all written and ready to go, and I
Okay.
get it out on the websites. I don't know, just a thought for you all to consider, but
Okay.
just in 1 week, and he had a call Saturday.
Yeah.
And that gives him, he keeps getting calls.
Yeah.
He can
They
keep
won't
submitting
stop.
them till the 15th, so.
Right.
Or till that Friday before, so and that's just like he said, one surveyor getting that.
Right.
So, just a thought.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
I was just going to say, you've expressed exactly our concern all along.
Right.
And that's why I really would prefer not to have any downtime at all. But in light of what we're needing to do, it doesn't matter if it's now or in November, December, because we asked the question, is there a seasonality to this for the very reason you just mentioned? And we were made aware that no.
There used to be.
There used to be, but there isn't anymore.
Not anymore.
Right.
So the question is, okay, when do you close it down for a little bit of let's just take a time out here for a moment? And so whether or not it's now or October, November, it's going to probably be a 90-day period of some sort that we just need to catch our breath a little bit. Your points are very well taken, and you believe me, this is my big concern is, and I think probably other members of the board share this concern, is the last thing we want to do is put up a stop sign for development in Warren County. I mean, that was our big concern all across, you heard that. Lindsay did. We're very concerned about that. The last thing we want to do is stop development here.
Well, stop non-stupid development.
Yeah.
Right, right.
You put it very well.
We call it unplanned or haphazard
Good
development, but-
clarification.
Yeah. I'd just like to say thank you for being here today, and especially, I think it would be remiss on behalf of the county not to try to get somebody with your experience and your mindset involved when, you say you're on the steering committee. Please stay committed to that as we're going through developing the ordinances and trying to figure out what we want Warren County to look like and what planned growth is versus unplanned growth. You probably have more experience with that than anybody in this room. And so your knowledge and your input would be very, very welcome, from Warren County and our zoning department. Please stay involved and let us know what you think. Yeah, be great.
Absolutely. Ditto.
Yeah, we kind of wanted him on there just because of the experience he has in other counties and what he
Yeah.
sees too. And
Yeah.
and he had expressed interest, so I'm glad he
Excellent.
joined that committee for
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Thank you for your time and service. Yeah.
Thank you for
very much.
sharing your thoughts.
So, anybody else from the public that would like to address this matter of land use planning and? Okay, then I'm going to make a motion to go into to leave public session.
Public hearing? Yes.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snow?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye. Okay, we're now back in a regular meeting. So a couple of things for the board to try to decide on today, hopefully. When is the effective date? And are we comfortable with 90 days? And I mean, I think we've decided on 90 days. That's 30 days less than what came to us as a recommendation, so we're trying diligently to keep this period as short as we possibly can, still get the job done. But based on what we just heard and the applications coming through and the work to get in kind of underneath the deadline, I would have interest in moving that back a week or 10 days if the rest of the board would as well, like make this May 7th or May 5th.
Should be
something like
Friday.
that. The effective start date, but I'm not totally, sold on that. I think we are doing the right thing, but if we need to shore up the time and kind of get started on this, that means it would get over a little bit sooner as well, and help people get through the construction season and give them another week or two to hopefully complete projects here in Warren County.
Yeah. I would be in favor of the May 5th. The whole purpose of this is so that our zoning department isn't slammed with a lot of work, and I think that that's what's happening, because people know the exact date now. So, yeah, I would be in favor of the May 5th.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I think the 90-day period. I don't know, do we have the resolution?
Yeah, I
It's
got it.
number 23 can we just move that?
Yeah.
Except change the date?
Yes.
I'd like the amended resolution that we are referring to as resolution number 23 with the modifications as highlighted in yellow, meaning the 90-day period effective May 5th, not more than 90 days, and proposed to be zoned commercial or industrial, and waiving the second and third readings, albeit the addendums to the,
Is that a proper motion, or do we need to read this
that'd
thing
be my
out?
motion.
Did you want me to read it and then someone state if they want to?
Could you read it with the changes that Supervisor Snell just
Yeah, if you-
indicated?
if you do this, and then just change the one date to May 5th instead
Okay.
of May 15th.
So be it resolved that the Warren County Board of Supervisors hereby approves to adopt a temporary land use regulation throughout unincorporated Warren County regarding rezoning and subdivision of real property. Whereas the population of Warren County is increasing, and due to the inconsistency of existing county ordinances with current growth patterns, and in consideration of the health, safety, and welfare of Warren County citizens, be it resolved as follows: that there is hereby enacted a temporary land use regulation prohibiting the rezoning and future subdivision of property for a period of not more than 90 days to further address the following needs: revise chapters 40, 41, 42, 43, and 46 of the Warren County Code of Ordinances, align the definitions and ordinances contained within chapters 40, 41, 42, 43, and 46 of the Warren County Code of Ordinances with one another. The Warren County Zoning Commission and Zoning Department staff shall be required to provide monthly status updates on all aspects of the temporary land use regulation, including substantive answers to citizens and Board of Supervisors questions. Now therefore it be it resolved by the Warren County Board of Supervisors, as of the effective date of May 5th, 2023, a temporary land use regulation of not more than 90 days on any rezoning and future subdivision of real property to include all divisions of land that have not been submitted to the zoning department by the effective date of this ordinance. This includes the acceptance, approval, and completion of pre-applications for the submissions for acceptance of any preliminary plats for subdivision of property. Subdivision of property shall mean any lot splits, parcel divisions, or subdivision. This shall exclude subdivision of property proposed to be zoned commercial or industrial or currently zoned commercial or industrial, and waiving the second and third readings. Severability, if any portion of this ordinance shall be adjudged invalid or unconstitutional, each adjudication shall not affect the validity of the ordinance as a whole or any section, paragraph, provision, or part thereof not adjudged invalid or unconstitutional. This effective date. This resolution and the temporary land use regulation imposed hereby shall be in full effect as permitted by law and shall remain in effect until the expiration of the temporary land use regulation imposed hereby or until it is repealed or superseded by further action of the Warren County Board of Supervisors.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you for reading that, Lindsay.
Yeah, no problem.
Just, we did change the date in the written resolution from May 15th to May 5th. And that means we need to get busy, a little bit busier than we anticipated, but.
And you made the motion.
I did.
And you,
And
okay.
we have a motion by Supervisor Snell and a second by Supervisor McIntyre. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snow.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Okay, the next item on our agenda is item number 5. Consider approval of a lease between Warren County, Iowa and Verizon regarding communication tower on the administration building with possible action.
You want a motion?
Yes, please. I mean, if there are any discussion or questions from Supervisor McIntyre, anything? Nope? Okay, yeah, please, could we get a motion? Or, yeah, we're going to do it.
I would move acceptance of the lease agreement and First Amendment to land and building lease agreement as presented to us regarding, let's see here, between Warren County and Verizon regarding communications tower on the administration building.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snow.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye, motion passes. Next item on our agenda is discussion with possible action, redistricting committee and appointments.
Do you want a motion on that?
Yeah, could you read the names that we're going to select, please?
Happy to do that. I would move that the Board of Supervisors appoint Katie Stout from Milo, Tom Phillips from Norwalk, Drew Merrifield from Carlisle as our representatives on the redistricting committee, and accept the Democratic Chair's recommendations of Michael Powers from Indianola and Marilyn Holterman from Carlisle.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snow.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye, motion passes. Congratulations. Next item on the agenda is a recognition for information technology and their completion of the NACO Enterprise Cybersecurity Leadership Academy.
Thanks. We might need to come back to this one.
I don't have
Okay.
anything.
There's nothing in our packet on this, I'm not sure.
I had submitted it, and Matt Van Stig and Joe Thompson of our IT department completed the Enterprise Cybersecurity Leadership Master Certificate from NACO, and it's part of their Professional Development Academy. It is a extensive course. I took a similar one, not in cybersecurity, but in their leadership, and it's about a 4 to 6 hour a week commitment for about, mine was 12 weeks. I'm not quite sure how long theirs was, but it's not an easy thing to pass. But I wanted to recognize them, and I've sent, well, Matt's on vacation, so he's not going to be coming, and Joe is probably busy, so I just wanted to recognize them publicly, and we have the certificates for them.
It's two of our finest. I want to also congratulate Matt and Joe on their performance, but they continue to improve their knowledge in information technology, and I think it's one of our strongest departments within Warren County under Matt's leadership. So I concur with Supervisor McIntyre.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is to approve the amended fiscal year 2023-2024 departmental appropriations.
Hello, so you have approved these already. It's just making a correction to the appropriations. The total figure is still the same. It just was off a line. So it's just approving a correction.
Okay.
I would move that we accept the correction as prepared and presented to us today.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. That is approved. Item number 9 is to approve an amended fiscal year 2023-24 elected official salaries.
Again, this is just, all the figures were correct. The percentages for the approved salaries just needed corrected, so they are corrected on this copy you have.
I would move acceptance of the corrected copies as presented to us.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Nay.
Snell.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye. The motion passes 2-1. Thank you. Item number 10, a discussion regarding service agreement with BMS with possible action. So, item,
We're way early.
what's that?
We're way early.
Oh, we're way early.
We're a half hour early.
We're
Oh,
half.
no.
How did we do that? 10:55.
Efficient today.
Okay. What's that? Okay.
Just
Yeah,
discussion.
okay.
anyway.
Well, it's discussion with possible action. Let me take a run at, I mean, we know what this is. This is a building automation system for the new Justice Center. We've been through several meetings as a board talking about the monitoring of our mechanical systems, and there is a,
Yeah, the one question that is, I still don't have a good answer for it. And I read through the materials, and unless I missed something, we still don't have what the ongoing costs would be. And so at this moment, I'm not feeling like I want to approve this until we have a full understanding of what the ongoing expenditures would be
Yeah, I
for
think-
for maintaining this. I see that there's discussion about it, but I didn't see a true answer on what the actual ongoing costs would be. I saw the upfront cost, but I didn't see the actual ongoing. I saw discussion regarding that, but I didn't see what the dollar amount is that would be anticipated.
Well, in the email that went back between their contact at BMS and Jamie Morowski, they said the total annual cost, price to maintain for 3 years, was $3,050.
yeah.
So,
Well, so is that the,
That's the annual cost, like the annual maintenance costs, where they monitor our systems, help us recognize any kind of defect or deficiency in the system, and let us know.
it was still the $97,250 for the yearly contract, but then the maintenance is an additional $3,050, and it said to remain for 3 years. And I don't know if that's broken down each 3 year, or that's the same each year. Total annual cost, so I would assume that that's a yearly cost.
Yeah, I think it's a $3,050, the way I read it, but it
Okay.
is kind of confusing, $3,050 each year for the first 3 years. So it's not going to change the second year or
Right.
the third year, which is good to know. So based on that, do you guys feel comfortable going forward or having a vote, or would you like to, I mean, my opinion is that we've that we went through this in a lot of detail. This is kind of along our strategy to make sure that we're doing our preventative maintenance, that when things are broken, we fix them when they're small problems instead of them becoming bigger problems. So this is, and I think is there an ARPA application for this?
I think there was originally.
I think my only problem with this is it's so darn much, and if we really needed that, why not hire someone who would be specifically over, putting reminders in a calendar and then checking those systems on a weekly basis? I don't know, it just seems like a lot of money for a maintenance system. That's just my problem there.
Okay. And the fact that Jamie's not here and
Oh,
Jamie
there she
just
is.
walked in.
Okay.
Jamie,
Sorry, we're discussing this already.
You're on deck right now. We're half an hour ahead of schedule.
I know, I've been listening. So, do you guys have the email on the cost for the,
Yes, we do. We have it
Okay.
in our packet.
I did check with Tracy and Josh on the annual fee, and while we didn't know about the annual fee when we did the budget, we're comfortable agreeing to pay that for the first year just to kind of get through things and see how it,
Is that the $3,050?
Yes.
Is that the annual?
Okay.
yes,
And
yep,
so that would be for each of the 3 years of the contract?
correct.
Okay, and then the 97 is for all 3 years, or?
That's just that initial install fee. Yes, so that
Okay.
would be that, and then we do the 3,000
Okay.
for the service.
Okay. I apologize, I thought that was a yearly thing.
No.
Okay.
How are we planning to pay for that initial? Was that ARPA?
Yes.
Now, am I right in thinking that there was some conversation about some leftover ARPA funds and that they could be used to help with, was that part of this discussion or
It
was
was
that part of something else?
something else, yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind.
So I didn't put in the ARPA request yet because there were a couple different options, and I think the board had decided that we would go with the lower option, but I didn't want to put in the request until we worked out the maintenance fees and how that was going to work moving forward.
So you're comfortable that the $3,000 is an inclusive fee?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then we'll just find it,
And that's annual, correct?
yes.
And we have an option to opt out of that at any point. If we decide, hey, we don't want their maintenance or their monitoring or their interface with us, okay, well,
Okay.
I don't think we're going to be signing a contract relative to maintenance, at least I haven't seen one here. So, but I do think that is I, for one, my opinion is, we're going to want that service as we go forward, but we're not necessarily legally bound to use that service. I mean, they've said you don't need to get the maintenance service if you don't want it, correct?
Right, they said that we could do it without their assistance. But in talking with Josh, he feels more comfortable paying that service fee and making sure that we have their help with it.
Okay. Do you think this is like a training for them, to learn how to catch the maintenance of things in that building?
Maybe a little bit. Personally, I see us staying with them for doing,
okay.
I just think in the long run, to make sure that our investments are taken care of and that we're catching stuff before it goes bad.
Okay.
It's worth paying that $3,000. And with that, then you get that reduced hourly. So it's you have all of that
Yeah.
on that,
Uh-huh.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, the
So you-
beauty,
Read it, yeah.
Yeah, so you get all those kind of extra perks when we do this service, which in the long run, I think will save us.
yeah, the system is only going to be as good as how it's monitored.
Exactly.
I mean, the big savings to this is you got a bearing that's heating up in a fan, or you got a fan that's out of balance, or a filter that hasn't been replaced. Right now, the only way we know if the filters need replaced is if water's coming into our building. This is a way to catch that early on. You know, if there's a lot of dust in the air or the environment changes, and we change the filters on an interval basis, but if something changes and the filters become plugged, there's no way to know that. This system helps us recognize those problems and helps us detect it, and helps us solve the problem. So our maintenance will go up and they'll go up and change the filters, but it takes time off of them not to have to go and check things out manually.
That's true.
So,
The other thing with this service is that it allows these guys, BMS, to do this remotely, so we're not paying those trip charges every time. We have to have somebody come out and say, oh, well, yeah, this filter is the cause of that. So a lot of it can be taken care of remotely.
Okay.
I do have a question.
yeah.
Would this system have helped in the flooding in the holding cells on the south side of the building?
Yes.
And how much did we have to spend in repair for those two flood outs?
Some of that was covered under warranty, wasn't it, or was it not?
Off the top of my head, I honestly can't say, because that was also tied to the flooding of that back hallway, so it was all together. It went from one floor down to the next floor and in our back hallway.
Well, we
so
did damage a desk in that process.
It damaged the
Yeah, I mean, a
desk.
really nice, brand-new desk was
Yeah.
destroyed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the whole purpose of this, is to save money, to save long-term money. And there's been a lot of studies and there's a lot of information out there on this electronic monitoring, and it's not just a nice to have. It's, hey, we're going to save money in the next 10 years if we go with a system like this. Yeah, it's going to cost money up front, but it's going to prevent maintenance costs. It's proven to prevent maintenance costs.
The one, I know, this was a thought I had, when I was looking at, when it says as part of the ongoing part of it, it talks about software subscriptions. And that was one of the things that, as I was reading the materials, I just wanted to make sure we know what our access is going to be to the software. And do we actually own the software, or are we only leasing the software with this initial purchase? So as we're setting up the whole system, is there a software component with licensure that we are buying as part of that? Or are we, is that just put in with the
I will have,
annual contract?
I'll have to double check on that.
Because that was a concern I had, was I was looking at this, okay, do we actually own the software, or is it just a subscription setting? So we have the big upfront cost to get it all put in, and we do all that sort of stuff. Do we actually own the software, or do we, and then subsequent updates to the software?
I believe what they're referring to there is that it's a web-based program, kind of like our eMate, where we have access to their system. It's not a separate program like, I guess, like Adobe, like you'd purchase Adobe to be able to use, I believe. But I'll double check with Joel on that.
Okay. I think we need to do this, don't get me wrong. But I just want to make sure we know the total exposure here, and also, what is our access? Are we actually buying the software with automatic updates, or are we paying a subscription price? Because I see subscription listed in the annualized portion of the email here. So that raises a question for me: how much of the initial setup, when we got softwares that are being put in place, are we purchasing the perpetual license or ownership of that, or is it just a subscription that we're doing up front here when we're putting in all this stuff?
I can shoot Joel an email, and then at the end, if he responds, which he's usually pretty quick, I can let you know what he says.
Yeah, I want to make it clear, I think we need to do this.
Yeah,
But
I
I just want to
agree.
make sure we have all our Ts crossed and Is dotted.
Sure.
We're not getting into something that's really going to cost us a lot more.
Because those annualized costs can be more substantial than you'd like to admit. And if you don't have the access or you don't have the automatic updates coming, you say, oh, by the way, in order to get the automatic updates, you need to have this level of subscription, not just the minimal one.
Right. And so with what we are proposing taking, that would all be included in that if we decided after the 3 years, say, Josh and Cody and whoever else is on staff is like, you know what, we feel good, we don't need their additional monitoring, then what's that going to cost us?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I can shoot him an email and ask him.
I'm most concerned about, okay, do we own or are we leasing or subscribing? I mean, if there's a software component to this, which it appears there is, what is our relationship with that agreement?
Okay. Yeah, I'll shoot him an email.
So we're going to,
I think we have some more questions here.
okay,
I think we need to wait until we get some more answers. That would be my opinion.
okay.
That we need to
You
wait.
should, okay, let's try to get that on our next agenda
Okay.
and get the answers back. I think it is critical, like, if we don't own the software, what are we committing to for
Exactly.
this to be functional? And how can the arrangement change based on our ownership of software?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jamie, for that. Okay. Next item on the agenda, item number 11, is to consider approval of ARPA funds for the EOC upgrade and reallocating maintenance ARPA funds for other facility needs with possible action.
So we had Jeff come in and talk about the upgrade and what that was going to cost, and I think that the board was on board with that. I did submit the application. Just as a side note, the application, or the quote that he quoted us originally, did not include a smart whiteboard, which Troy had said was supposed to be in the original scope of the work. I don't know at what point that was taken out. I did reach out to Jeff and ask him if he could quote that for us, and he's working on that. So I threw in, when I Googled that particular item, it was about $9,000. So I added about $10,000. I'm assuming that we can get it for less than that, but just to be safe in case any other little oddities come up during the process. So that's where the new ARPA amount came from. So it doesn't exactly match his quote if you were looking at those numbers.
I would move approval of the ARPA funds for the EOC upgrade and reallocating maintenance ARPA funds for other facility needs, and increasing the proposal amount not to exceed $125,000.
Okay. This is a really hard vote for me, just because I know it's being called an upgrade, but that room has not been right from the beginning. And it's very difficult to say yes to this one. But for the sake of the EOC, knowing that it needs to be functional, disasters could happen any moment, and just to have that room upgraded, I'm going to say yes.
So is that a second?
Yes, that's a second, sorry.
Okay, great.
Excuse me just a second. What was the amount that you said?
$125,000.
Which is $1,000 less than the request. It was $126,000 was the request, correct?
I think that,
No, the requested amount was $115,188.95.
what's on the ARPA fund?
The ARPA fund says 126,000.
I think 125 is fine. I really do think that,
No, I'll go with the 126. I'll amend my motion if you
Okay.
Okay.
willing to accept that.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have an amended motion to change from 125,000 to 126,000, and we've got a confirmation on the second to approve that. So we have a motion and we have a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Jamie, for your help on that.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is to,
Sorry, one more part to that. Is the second,
we've already voted. I'm
no, it's
sorry,
not.
Jamie. You may sit down.
it's number 2 on my request. So the second request is, I've been going through, we're working on numbers for budget, and looking at we have so many needs in the maintenance department, so many things need done, and there's only so many dollars. So in going through my original calculations are that with all of the ARPA requests for maintenance and what's actually been spent out of those ARPA requests, there's about $28,000 left over. I know that the money is supposed to be spent on the projects that we asked for. My ask is that we, as a maintenance team, be able to use that $28,000 to do other things with regard to facilities, and then I can work with Megan on that to keep track of and keep the board up to date on things like there's a list a mile long of things that we need to do and not enough money.
Right. I would feel, I support that, but I would feel more comfortable being able to see and approve those things as they come up, just because our ARPA is so specific in what needs to be spent for.
Do you want me to create a new request list and then say the funds are already there, this is what we're going to ask to spend the money on?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, just, those are ARPA requirements that we have to provide to the federal
Yes.
government. So I think we're all on the same page that we have to define those more than just maintenance needs.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. The next item on the agenda is to receive and file reports.
I'll make a motion to receive and file the Veteran Affairs report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Snell?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Supervisors report. I'll go ahead and just go down through a few of the things I've been working on. I was involved in a maintenance request meeting. We're kind of standardizing our procedures around how are we contacting maintenance, and what's the process for engaging maintenance. And so we had considered potentially, if any department within Warren County needs maintenance, that they should electronically make a request through email for now until our e-maintenance software gets up and running. The issue that we're having is that we've been really strong on customer service and maintenance, so if somebody just runs into one of our maintenance people, they say, you know, hey, Josh, can you do this, or can you come over and do that? So I think Tracy was involved and Jamie was involved in just trying to formalize that. So what ends up happening is we get distracted and we get going on other projects, and then the ones that are really important kind of get put on the back burner. So this is just a way to make sure that we're doing a good job of time management and maintenance, and we're not taking advantage of our maintenance staff just by running into them. So I've also been to a Sheriff's Advisory Committee meeting. Those meetings are just discussing the needs for our communications department, what the financial considerations are, what, and how we engage with the 911 board, and how we try to do a better job of making sure everybody's on the same page on what those costs are going to be down the road, so we're not reacting. It's more of a proactive approach. 3 BOS staff meetings, budget hearing, 2 Board of Supervisors work sessions. We got some positive news from our insurance company. Rudolph Insurance had asked to sit down and talk to us. Warren County is doing a great job in our workers' compensation claims, and that relates back to having regular safety meetings, we believe. That's what our insurance company believes. And when we do a good job in reducing our workers' compensation claims, we get dividends from our insurance company. So the insurance company issued Warren County a check for $41,000 about 7 days ago. And so that's on the net positive. Attended some litigation closed sessions. Also, Betsy Sturzma from CICS came in and spoke to the board last week. And I've asked that our sheriff sit down with Betsy and start talking about how we combine we collaborate with our mental health services and our law enforcement. And that was a real positive meeting. There's some changes within CICS. They're adding a resource regarding our crisis response. So if there's a resident within Warren County that is having some mental health issues, or there's a domestic situation, there will be a mental health resource available to law enforcement, and we're encouraging law enforcement to engage with mental health, and our sheriff has been very positive and is upbeat, and they're talking, and they're even talking about bringing mental health into some of their sergeants' meetings on a regular basis and keeping everybody informed on a better way to handle law enforcement situations when mental health services are involved. And so I was really encouraged by our sheriff and by Betsy and CICS in trying to come together and work together. I met with their director of We Lift here in Indianola to talk about some social services issues. There's also been multiple meetings regarding a dispatch restructure, and Tom Lampy and Sheriff Carrico will be in our work session next week to bring some ideas forward to the Board of Supervisors. And that is my report.
I attended some meetings this past week. One is the HERDA, Heart of Iowa Transit. And interesting statistic here is the Warren County Indianola zone represented 11% of all the rides that were provided by HERDA. And that total, so we just have it on the record here, was, looks like 933 rides. So HERDA is very active here in Warren County. I would say that they are doing a good job. They've also initiated some on-demand service. They were talking about that at the meeting the other day, that how it was kind of a pain for them as a team to initiate that, but from the customer side of it, the people who are riding it, it ended up that it was a very positive experience. So while maybe, you know, it's kind of like the duck you see, the swimming under the water type thing, they were all, I think, swimming pretty hard, but on the top it was calm waters for the customer. So I think that that's very good, and that's nice that we have that service available, especially for the medical aspect of things. But 933 is pretty significant. So I think that's a very important thing that we're doing there. Mm-hmm. I also represent us on the Impact Board. We had a meeting last week that raised some questions, and we're serving a lot of folks through that collaborative effort. I would say it's primarily focused on Polk County and Des Moines. And through that, there was material that was talking about the pantries and different things like that that are supported by Impact. But the Warren County line was blank. And so I asked the question, why? Why is it blank? And what it amounts to is our pantry here, Helping Hand, does a tremendous job doing that service for people who are in need. And so as a result, Impact is not at all involved in any of that aspect of things. And in fact, they're pretty much focused on kind of as a pass-through type agency for other programs and services that a lot of, if people are in need, they don't have to go through impact to get that. So I would say that we maybe need to look a little bit at how we are addressing that part of our community, unfortunately, that's in need, and how we're addressing that service. I'm not sure that impact is the most effective way at this point for us to help people that are truly in need. So I can just see that we're going to need to have some more conversation about that. Typically, last week I would have had the CICS board meeting. Due to the fact that our board meeting was so heavy the month before, they actually sent out a notice just kind of at the last minute saying, we're not going to meet this month, we'll hold off until next month. And as I think I'd shared before, our governance involvement there is going to change because of the state of Iowa's involvement with the whole mental health services and taking over that, the costs associated with that. And we were able to reduce the property taxes here in the county accordingly. Therefore, the board composition this year by way of the Iowa legislature is going to change. And I believe that'll be effective probably July 1st with the new fiscal year. So this next month may be the last or next to the last meeting where Warren County and the other 15 counties that are part of the CICS will actually actively meet as that board. As we know, only 49% of the new board will actually be representatives of the boards of supervisors from that 15 county area. And with that, I believe we're down to 6 or 7 will be the actual number of board members from boards of supervisors. And with the plan at this point in time, Warren County would not be in the rotation in the initial terms that would be set up. Another thing that had happened in this interim period, we had a meeting with the MPO Policy Committee, and there was some real concern expressed by some of the other counties and city members of that board about the MIPA, Mid-Iowa Planning Agency, participation and work that the MPO has been doing for that entity. I believe in the interim period here, since that meeting, there's been some additional action that has taken place. Des Moines and Polk County specifically had indicated that they were not supportive of the MIPA continuation being a part of the staff roles for the MPO, which has been primarily working more on transportation or infrastructure-related issues here in the central Iowa area. And of course, because Warren County is part of the metropolitan area of Des Moines, that's why we're involved with the MPO to begin with. So there are some changes that are happening with personnel that were announced yesterday, in fact. So they will be searching for a new director here as a result of those actions that have taken place. I just want to bring that to your attention. And then I will be out of the office this next week here as I go out to California to visit my daughter and family out there. So,
Have a good trip.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay. The max levy hearing at Indianola High School. I visited with 3 citizens about their road complaints. We had 3 work sessions and 4 special meetings, including closed sessions, between the month of April and this month. Attended the APWA conference. That's a Public Works, Engineering, Secondary Roads type of conference. Left for Texas, and while I was there, I met with the San Antonio Police Department contact who discussed how they approach mental health with officers and how they deal with the public. Including this board meeting, I met 3 times during the last month for regular board meetings. And we had our budget hearing, our last meeting with the Board of Directors of the 5th Judicial Department of Correction, because the state of Iowa passed their government alignment bill. As Mark Snell is also affected by that passage too. So there are some boards that we've represented as local government it's switching to state control. So, thank you, that's my report.
Thank you, Crystal. The next item on our agenda is the public input portion. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak with the board? Doesn't appear to be any. Our next meeting date is May 16th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.